So let's continue with our actions. Let's open up our action manager. Okay, so we have our action slots, which were for the weapons, but we're going to need a few more. For example, we're going to need for the items, which can also change. And yeah, let's do this. Let's create maybe not another list, but let's go into our action inputs. And actually we won't even need, I believe. Yeah, let's go add them in here, it doesn't matter. So all we need is the B button, which is going to be, not the B button, the X button, which is going to be our item. And yeah, I think that should probably do for our items. I'm trying to remember what the other buttons do, to be honest. And yeah, we might need to have a few more extra keys for changing weapons and stuff like that. But for right now, let's go only with one more action input, just so that we can add it in here, to be honest. And yeah, maybe now that I think of it, maybe it's not really that much needed. So let's just create a new class. I think it's going to be more clearer. We might need to have a bit more code, but it's probably a bit more easier to understand. So we have an item action, and since we know what to do when we are actually using the item action, we only need to have for now a target animation, and for in the future we're also going to need the item name. So for example, if you're going to have a healing item, okay, you're going to use this, or as the ID, maybe call this item ID is better. Okay, and let's go over here and let's create a new public action. Not action input, we want item action, and let's call this consumable item. Yeah, it's not a list. In our state manager now, we are checking for input or an action, which is detect action. We have all this. So before we do the detect action, let's see if we can say detect input, or yeah, maybe item action. In this case, it's just going to be something. It can be also taunts and stuff like that, but basically we just want to keep separate the weapons because they have their own behaviors from the actions, from the item actions, which are kind of both of a special case. We're going to do the same thing in here, and we can also do, well, I think if X input, if we even have the X, we might not even have it. Yeah, we have only this. We have our all input, which does entirely something different. And let's just call this public bool item input. So for item input, we're going to check if item input, then we're going to do action, or let's just say if item input equals false, so we're not having to mess with all brackets. We have our action slot, and or we actually want our item action. No need to search, we already know where it is. Item, consumable item, and we can only do, well, all we have to do is basically take this target animation to be slot.target animation. Let's see Maybe we should also do this if string in here. We can move when we can also be in action. So we're going to leave it like this. Now we need to say where can move and in action come into play. So if you are in action, we are applying root motion. So we don't want the in action. We want to play an animation though. So yeah, we might actually we might need to create a new more state. So let's make it public bool. Let's call this using item or busy, you know, something like that. So in our fixed tick, detect action if can move equals false or using item. Okay, so it's not going to update with attack animations. So this clears us also this. No need for any of this. We can move. If the boolean says can move, we can move. If you cannot, then return. And animation hook close roll, I think we had. Yeah, we can handle this. Handle rolls should also be either or using item. So this will also be. We shouldn't be able to do rolls while using an item. Okay, and I think for the most part the rest, yeah, except for the running button, which can fix on the input handler, should work just fine. And maybe the lock, oh no, the lock on can also stay, I believe, shouldn't make any difference. So detect item action, let's go on top, detect item action, can move, item input, and over here we want using item to be true. And if you are already using an item or using item, then return. Now on the input handler we can say update, not the update states, we have our get input, yeah, on update states. Let's see where we have our roles or our inputs. And we can say if X input, B input should be false. Okay. And then states dot using item or not using item dot item input should be X input. Okay, pretty clear. And now on our animator though, we need something that actually uses, yeah, that's going to use that. I think this will do, or yeah, the interactions probably, and we are already using it. So we might actually, let's see if we are using this somewhere, because we might be writing code we have written before. Let's search for interacting. We don't have any interacting. Okay, that's very easy. So we're going to say the use item is going to play this, it's going to leave this state. So that means this is going to also turn the interacting to true. So in here we can say, instead of can move, we can do using item b anim get bool. Let's write this as, I think it was interacting. Okay, come on. So the same way we are doing with the animations for the index, we're also doing them for layered animations like the items. And we have our use item. I also have a few more animations, directions, not parry, bestus, because you know, why not? Alright, so let's go on our controller, and we have, of course we can have more, much more of behaviors on them, but it's something we're going to see in the future. Consumable item, target animation, I'm going to say bestus, and let's see if we're going to have any problems with this. Oh, let's actually see if we need, maybe we need some, yeah, not this one, the crossfade might give us some problems, but we'll see in the future what if it actually does or not. So I'm moving, I'm using the item, and I can also move, well, of course he's now throttling a weapon. Let's see if I can attack. Yeah, and I cannot attack until the animation is over. I cannot do anything, or at least when it starts to get transitioning back. So to fix the transition issues, I can say in here, okay, you can see I can change this to something better. To something like this. Okay, so that it's working like the behavior we tend to really nice. Now on the, well, something that is going to be pretty clear, on our current weapon we can do public game object. Let me remove public game object weapon model, and on your input handler, not input handler, on the state manager, when we are actually doing the decked item action, if we are actually going to use the item, we can say inventory manager, current weapon, weapon model, set active to false. And we can also do a check if using item is false, then enable this. Or you should probably do if to just do it once. Is active in hierarchy. If it's not active in hierarchy, then turn it up, because we only want to enable it once. If it's already active, we don't need it to reset it again. It might get might use some performance of us. And of course we need to assign the weapon. I'm going to select the weapon, controller, I'm going to drag and drop the sword. Let's close this, we don't need it. Do this, close it. Okay, I have my weapon, and something went wrong in here, yeah. So what we can also do, because the using item is done in here, this closes the action, but this will open it again, which is not good. So we can say get all this, using item, using item, we want the opposite. If you're using an item, we don't want for this to show. and we don't need to have it in here, I guess, at this point. Okay, let's maybe take this and put it down here. Close this, and let's try it again. Yeah, there's a small issue. Because they're using item. Yeah, the simplest way to fix this is, instead of using crossfade, do a play. Play the target animation, and this will be correct. Let's see. Okay, there we go, problem solved. We can of course change the target animation to, I think it's using item, or use item. Also check in the descriptions for the animations. Okay, if you want to use an item. While we have mirrored it, we don't want it mirrored, let's put it back to where it was. This can also work as a taunt, I guess, but it also works with, you know, walking. And if you want to be even more mean to your players, you can say, when you are actually when you are actually using you know, an item, let's kind of, it might be kind of a brute force, but let's see. If using item, run will be false, and that means it will just stick to the move speed, and the move speed should also be, have a target direction, let's think, and I think it should be one of these, one of all movement animations. I'm just trying to think the most elegant amount. I think if we clamp, the move amount should be what we want. Okay, so if using item, let's clamp the move amount, math f dot clamp move amount 0.2.05. So I'm jogging, and when I'm using an item, I can only walk. And if you want to be even more mean to your players, instead of 0.5, you can do 0.3. Okay, cool stuff. So we're slowing down the player whenever he uses an item. And if I want to make this item, you know, to be very slow, his use, I can change the speed in directly the animator, and you can see that it only affects the speed of the animations on the above layer, so the feet are moved with what you have in here. I think maybe 0.5 is probably the best, or maybe 4.5 should be a little bit better. Let's change this also to 1, and let's maybe change the bestus to 0.8. We'll see. As you can guess, this can take so much tailoring that you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. Okay, so we have attacks, we have items, we have more attacks, lunges, we have two-handed other attacks, and now let's work with, actually, before we see the other stuff, I need to make a few resources. For example, I need some damage animations, so we're going to handle some of those stuff in a later video. But yeah, for right now I think this works pretty good. So I think, and yeah, we can do, I believe we can do a few more stuff. Let me think. Let's see what we have in here. We have an item. This is when changing items. Yeah, maybe it's not best if we do not drag this along. So yeah, we're going to add the video in this one. Right here, this one was a little bit shorter. For the next parts, I'm going to add a little bit more depth. We're going to work with our inventory much more. We're going to also see a few bases for our enemies. We will be able to actually attack them, and we're going to tailor everything over on top of the animations. Okay, so we're going to do some really nice stuff. So you know what to do: like, subscribe, press the sun, and of course, if you like to see more, and you want to see them earlier than when they're going live on YouTube, then you can support me on Patreon, and depending on your pledge, you also get additional rewards. And the other way you can support me is, of course, through Gumroad, where you can buy projects, use them in your games, and of course, everything goes back into making even more of this stuff and creating resources and all these nice things, so we can keep making them. So I'll see you next time.